that person decide that they never speak to you again because you set a boundary, that's their loss. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is episode 3 of my self-care series. If you're new, make sure you check out episode 1 and episode 2. In episode 1, I talked a little bit about what this series is going to be. And then in episode 2, I talked a little bit about me, my upbringing into adulthood. So make sure you guys check those 2 episodes out if you're new here and if you haven't watched those yet before we get into episode 3. The person I am, I want to keep it in order of events. Is that how you say it? We want to keep it going in a way where you guys are easy to follow along and just take it step by step, because I don't want to be all over the place. I don't want to just talk about a random topic every week. Well, we're still talking about different topics every week, but you get what I'm saying. I want to let it flow. So I was supposed to film this earlier, doing my makeup and all of that and chit-chatting, but I was batch shooting today. I was shooting a bunch of content and I just didn't even put on makeup today. And I was not gonna put on makeup now. So I was like, you know what? Let me just stick to the same thing we've been doing and just sit here and talk. Later on in the series, you will see me try to do different things and talk. So I'll probably do my makeup, different skincare routines, or just stuff like that. That way, you know, it's not just me sitting here talking. But for now, I'm at my vanity in my bathroom. And that's always gonna be while we talk about today's topic. Like, going off of where we were last week, we talked about my upbringing, meeting my husband, moving in early, all that stuff. So now we're adults. So the first thing I feel like I learned, or the first thing I had to learn, was setting boundaries. So I feel like that should be my topic today. I want to talk a little bit about setting boundaries, because if you're new to self-care, that's one of the first things you need to do. You're gonna have to set boundaries. So what does setting boundaries really mean? Setting boundaries mean that you're setting a limit to what you can take. Each boundary is gonna look different, whether it's in your personal life, relationships, friends, family, employment. I think that's probably the last one I probably did for myself, was deciding on certain things in the work environment that I want to change. But yeah, different areas is going to take different things, different timeline, different approach, and all that stuff. So you have to set boundaries in different areas of your life. So I'll give you an example again, without me saying too much. Let's start with family members and siblings. So I feel like when you become an adult, you feel like you owe everybody. You owe your family, you owe your parents, you owe your siblings around you, your cousins. You owe everybody. And as an adult, you don't know how to set boundaries with those people, because those are the people you've been around. Like, they've done things for you, they've been there for you, so you feel like you can't set boundaries. But as you become an adult, you find that if you don't set boundaries, then you're gonna be the one left holding a lot of this baggage and weight, because you're helping everybody else, but you're not putting yourself first. So that was something I had to learn early, especially when you like live with family, because you, again, maybe they're helping you. Maybe you're not able to pay your full rent. Maybe you needed help financially. Just different things like that, to where you felt like you needed them and they've been there for you. So now that you have your own, or you're trying to create your own, you don't know how to set a boundary for that. What ends up happening is that these people, some knowingly and some not knowingly, take advantage of you because you don't know what to do and how to navigate that life. So I think that was one of the early situations that I found myself in, we found ourselves in, was that we didn't know how to set boundaries with family. It came to a point where we're like, okay, I had to realize it. Like I told you guys, there was at one point when I broke down to my ex-boss because I had so much on my plate. And I remember having that conversation with her and realizing like something has to change. what is it that's gonna change? So I started making small changes, and one of the first thing when setting boundaries with family is being able to express how you feel. And sometimes you have people, which I didn't have that situation, but I'm just gonna give you an example. Sometimes the people you're talking to, like the family member, they don't allow you to express your feeling. You get cut off, the topic gets changed whenever you bring something up. So now you have to say, look, I'm gonna express my feelings. I need you to stop for a second and listen to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So you have to sometimes stand firm and be like, this is how I feel, and these are the changes I need to make. So maybe you're living with a family member and they feel like they can go in and out when they please. They can use your stuff without asking, or, you know, let's say you give them your car to use. Next thing you know, you're expecting them to be back with your car so you can go somewhere, but now you're stuck and you're late for work because they didn't return it on time. Or maybe they go out to party and expect, without even telling you, they expect you to come and pick them up at 3 in the morning. Those little things, they might seem like nothing at first, but over time, repetitively, over and over again, you keep doing these things and you find that it's affecting you mentally, physically, because you're losing sleep or you're missing work. Now you're getting written up because of their negligence. Just little things like that. I hope it makes sense. Like, little things can lead to bigger things. So those little things that you keep doing over and over without speaking up and expressing how you feel and saying no sometimes, those things then lead to a bigger issue. Especially like in my situation where we were a young couple trying to figure things out. So now it's affecting your partner. You have to almost like choose. You have to almost like choose, like, okay, am I gonna keep doing this for the rest of life because you're my best friend, or because you're my sister, or because you're my cousin, or, you know, you're just gonna keep doing these things when it's affecting you, like really affecting you or affecting the situation you're in. I know I kind of rambled there, but yeah, you have to set boundaries slowly with these people to say, okay, here's, like, say no. And we can talk about saying no in another video, but you have to say no sometimes. You have to set limits as to how much you will do, how much you can give, what are the boundaries with bills or stuff like that. Because I feel like sometimes when, especially when you're young, and if you're a young adult trying to figure things out, you've never owned a house before, you've never paid rent before, you've never shared a space with someone. So when you're sharing a space with someone, they just, you know, keep telling you these things to do, and you feel like it's normal. It's normal to, like, oh, I need $500, here you go. You know, I can't say no because I'm living in your house, so I just keep feeding you. So all those things, you have to kind of be able to set that boundary to where they will know, like, no, that's my limit. Like, I will do this much. And it's not completely saying that you're not going to do for your family or your friends, but it's setting that limit to how much you will do. How much are you willing to sacrifice? How much are you willing to put yourself first? Because if you don't, like I said, in the long run, it's gonna affect you. So in that moment, you might feel like, but I can't. No, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it this time. But this time turns into 10 more times. And now you don't know how to cut off because you're so far deep in. So that's my first tip when it comes to family and friends. You have to set boundaries on, and it's not just physical boundaries either. It could be emotional boundaries. Maybe you have someone in your life who feels like every time they need rescuing, they have to come to you emotionally as well. And it's draining, especially if you're telling the person over and over again. Like, it's one thing to be there for somebody. Don't get me wrong. I've been there for a lot of people, and a lot of people have been there for me. But you have to be, there has to be a point where when you see a pattern and you're like, okay, this is affecting my mental health now. So I'm gonna set a limit to like, okay, if you don't make changes in your life, I can't keep doing this with you. So it's not up to me to keep rescuing you out of every situation. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna affect you over time. So you have to, if you find that it's being draining to you, again, if you have no problem with it and you can take it, take it. But if you find that it's affecting your self-care, your emotional state, your mental state, you have to set that boundary and be like, look, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to say I'm not gonna be here for you or I won't help you out, but look, you have to make changes in your life, or I'm gonna leave you to kind of figure it out, and I'll be here when you do. Or if you need a little assistant on the help, if you need a little assistance on the way, I'll try to help you as much as I can. But here's my limit to how much of that I'm gonna do. Hopefully, I keep saying, I hope that makes sense to you. It's funny because even though I had this topic in my head, when I went to like Google and kind of write my thoughts down, I was like, see, everything I'm thinking is already on the internet. Like, it is listed on the setting boundaries. If you go and just Google setting boundaries and read all this stuff, I promise you it's there. Another boundary is like setting boundary on how you want to be treated. So it could be in a relationship. If you don't set that boundary of how you want to be treated, then someone might think they can just treat you however. You have to set that boundary because it's not up to them to know what you want. You have to let them know what you want. How much are you willing to take? So yeah, that's another note, is setting boundaries in those relationships as well. And that could involve like the way you're spoken to, how you handle conflict, how we are gonna handle disagreements. Like, we have to set boundaries to say, okay, no, you're not gonna scream at me when we're talking about something, because if that's what you're gonna do, I'm gonna remove myself. That is you setting a boundary. It's either one, that person is gonna be like, oh, okay, lesson learned, or they're gonna feel like walking away. And if they do, maybe that was for the better. But you have to set that boundary as to how you want to be spoken to, how you want to be treated, your expectations. That all comes back. I know it seems like a whole different topic, but it all comes back to your self-care, because if you just let that run wild, it's gonna affect you again. And like I said at the beginning of this video, like, it's gonna take time, because now when I look back, for me, this whole journey basically started like 2009, or let me say like 2010, and it took me about 4 years to get to a good place where I was putting myself first. I mean, there were little steps along the way, but when I look at the overall picture, it took me about 4 years, 5 years, get to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm loving me. Me. Like, it took me a while to get to that spot, and even then it still took a little bit more time to now where I can sit here and do this video, because boundaries, and boundaries don't mean you put up a wall, because when you put up a wall, you basically shut down, you shut everything out. But that's not what boundaries mean. It just means that you have a limit. This is all I'm gonna take. After this, I'm out. I'm out. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Let me make sure I hit all my pointers. And guys, when you set that boundary, make sure you stick by it. Make sure you stick by it. And it does not mean that, can I have your pen? I'm gonna say no every time. Can I have your pen? No. Can I have your pen? No. That doesn't, I know I'm looking at it because I have a pen right here. That's the quickest thing I could think about. But it doesn't mean that you're gonna just say no every time. But if I'm using the pen and I'm in the middle of writing an essay, and you come and you say, can I use your pen? No, at the moment, I'm doing something, I need it. I'm not gonna stop what I'm doing and let my paper be due or past due just because I didn't want to say no to you. Like, no. So it doesn't mean that you're gonna say no forever all the time, but it just means that in that moment, that's what was best for me. And I put myself first. Before I close this out, let me say this, because like I told you guys, I started this series because I found myself telling my friends, telling my family, self-care. Practice self-care, practice self-care. And I know it's probably hard for a lot of people, especially when it comes to family and close friends. Friends you've known forever, friends you've known for a long time. It's very hard to set those boundaries. But let me tell you something. I feel like a preacher. Let me tell you something. If you set boundaries, there's only a few things that's gonna happen when you set those boundaries. One, when you set boundaries, there's a few things that are gonna happen. Either one, the person is gonna respect your boundaries, value your opinion, okay? It might take a little time, you might have a little falling out or something, but if that person cares about you, truly loves you, truly understand like what you're doing and why you're doing it, they're gonna respect your boundaries. They're gonna make changes in whatever it is that, you know, you're not in agreement with, to make sure they're being mindful of the boundaries that you set, okay? Either one, that's the first one, respect your boundaries. Two, they're gonna remove themselves from your life. And if they remove themselves from your life, that means they weren't meant to be in it in the first place. That's another topic for another day, because sometimes we blame ourselves for people removing themselves, but we have to get to the point where we understand that, hey, it was meant to be. Like that whole saying of everything happens for a reason, it does. Everything happens for a reason. If that person decide that they never speak to you again because you set a boundary, that's their loss. That's their feeling. That's not nothing you did wrong. Stick to what you believe in. So it's either one, they're gonna respect it. Two, they're gonna remove themselves from that from your life or whatever the situation might be. Or sometimes it might take a little time. You might have a little falling out or something, but eventually they're gonna come around and understand why you did what you did. But yeah, stick to what you believe in and stick to the boundaries that you set for yourself. So hopefully that got real deep real fast. Like I said, I've been through some things and I don't want to go word for word like, oh, this person did this to me and that person did that to me and I had to do this to that person. But I think I talked about it general enough to where you guys can understand what I'm saying. Again, I had a lot of falling outs in my life. I had a lot of people remove themselves from my life, or I pretty much, you know, remove them from my life. But I can look back now and be like, everything happens for a reason. If I didn't go through that, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now, or be able to sit here and tell you guys why setting boundaries is important. I want you to comment down below and let me know if you have any questions about this topic, if you've had any difficulty with setting boundaries. That's it for this week's topic. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about next week, but I feel like this was the first thing I had to learn and I want to share that with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget, give this video a thumbs up. Share this with somebody who you feel like need help with setting those boundaries. And like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.